Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Meister Tarot. Okay, the weather's turned on us, but that's all right. I love winter. Okay, I wanted to have a look today, as I mentioned earlier in this week, at Sri Lanka. At the moment, it's popping up in our news cycle every so often, not overly often, but enough that it is concerning. There's quite extreme and violent riots happening over there at the moment, protests. So I thought I'll just have a little look into, well, first of all, to educate myself on what is happening in Sri Lanka, and then I want to have a look at what's going to happen with the outcome. So bear with me while I do my usual run through at the beginning. What we've got here is that in Sri Lanka, so the President Rajapaksa, and I apologise for my pronunciation because I'm sure it's completely wrong, is the latest in a family that has been in power since, I believe, 2005, the president. So they have a system where they have a president and then they have a prime minister. He has recently installed a new Prime Minister. I believe his brother was the previous Prime Minister, but due to what's going on in Sri Lanka at the moment, he has tried to ease the situation by installing a new Prime Minister, Wickremesinghe, and I'm sure I've got that, Wickremesinghe. I do apologise, completely wrong pronunciation, I know, but please feel free to look this up. Now, the concern is by the people of Sri Lanka is that this Prime Minister that has been installed has affiliations with the President and the President's family, and that he has been installed purely to protect the interests of the elite class. So, what's happening in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka was previously known as Ceylon when it was under the auspices of the United Kingdom. It gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1948. Its main exports are spices and coffees and agriculture, etc. Tourism has been very big in Sri Lanka as well. Tea and spices and agriculture. Beautiful part of the world. I know some Sri Lankan people. I've worked with them and they are just beautiful people. So, but what's happened recently is that the country does not have its own fuel supply, doesn't produce a lot of what it actually requires for modern society, so medicines and electronic goods, etc. So the country imports a lot. Now, what has happened is that the Sri Lankan presidency has got himself into a cycle of going to the International Monetary Fund for loans. The only problem is these loans have extremely tight restrictions on them. So their key incomes are tourism, which was slashed in 2019 due to some civil unrest in the country. Taxes were also bizarrely cut at the same time. So while the income for the country was being cut, so were the taxes. What happened then is you also had the global pandemic, which meant tourism, which is one of their main income factors, was severely cut, but it was also cut because of this civil unrest within the country. So what happened is that the government of the day in 2019, I believe, please correct me if I've got any of this wrong, banned the importation of fertilisers to save monies from the government coffers. And what's happened then is that the actual production of agricultural products, which is one of their major exports, has also slumped as well. So the government has put them into this cycle of, we're not buying what you need to grow, so therefore you can't grow, therefore you can't sell, which means you don't get any money to buy the things you need to grow. And it's just a cycle that's going along. But also with the IMF loans, what has been happening is that the government has been borrowing to pay off previous loans, from what I understand, or to pay the interest on previous loans. And each time the circle the spiral down is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, until what has actually happened is that the government has defaulted on some of these loans, on the foreign debt. Inflation is running at about over 17%. That was the latest figure I could get, and that's still probably a 12 months old, so it's probably a lot worse since then. There's been protests at the fact that people just cannot get food. They cannot get fuel because there's no fuel imports coming in because the government can't afford to buy it. There are major energy cuts, so the electricity might be off for 12 hours a day, and there are severe medicine shortages. So it's just all round a really dire picture for Sri Lanka at the moment. So what I want to have a look at, so there have been quite strong protests at this perception of economic mismanagement, which led to strict curfews. Basically couldn't leave the house at all. Those have recently been lifted so that people can go out to try and seek foods and medicines. But the country at the moment, it's not a large country, Sri Lanka. It's off the bottom east of India, if you can picture that in the map in your mind. As I said, beautiful people, but it has about $51 billion in debt at the moment. Now, China had put in some infrastructure support as part of its Belt and Road. I think it's purchased one of its major ports and improved it. There is some blame going around that, it's China demanding their monies back. However, the purchase and improvement to the port did actually allow for more exports to be processed in a more timely manner. So that was actually, from what I understand, was positive for Sri Lanka. It's just that they've got themselves into this spiral of debt and borrowing to get out of debt. It's like payday lenders, where you don't have enough money to get you through to the next payday, so you borrow at exorbitant. And here's the government and the lending, the borrowing, the IMF, etc. The systems is what is causing this. You borrow to get yourself through to your next payday, an exorbitant interest rate, which means when you do get paid, you're paying such a high percentage of interest that your pay doesn't last to the next payday, even in a worse situation. So therefore you have to borrow to get yourself through to the next payday and end up paying even. It's just a defeating cycle. So I want to have a quick look to see whether, I'll move to my political cards, to see whether this is actually caused by government mismanagement, and there hasn't been any inkling of this. The speculation is purely mismanagement, but my gut instinct is telling me I need to have a look at corruption as well, especially with this appointment of the Prime Minister that has close ties to the elite. So tell me, please, is Sri Lanka in its current position purely due to government mismanagement, getting themselves into this spiral? Please tell me, is Sri Lanka's current position, excuse my long blurb at the start, current position purely due to government mismanagement? What I'm seeing is the government had aspirations beyond what it could afford, is what I've been told. Basically had dibs on itself. So for an Australian saying, dibs on itself. It had aspirations beyond, saw itself as a bigger player than what it actually is what I'm getting. So therefore, tried to play with the big boys. Tell me, instead of looking after the sovereign wealth of the country, but tell me, is it due to economic mismanagement, government mismanagement? I mean, no one could predict the pandemic coming on, causing tourism to absolutely be decimated. But tell me, that's why sovereign funds are so important. Tell me, is this caused by government economic mismanagement? Okay, working together, attempting to build a solid foundation, but this is also my dark money card, working together with dark money. Contracts being made, reaping what you sow, disappointment with the harvest in regards to the domestic financial situation. So I am getting pretty much, yes, it was. What this card is telling me when I look at it as a whole, because it is above the reaping what you sow card, this is telling me that they attempted to lay what they thought was a solid foundation, but they really had no idea. This is, if you have a look at these figures here, trying to decipher these plans, it reminds me very much of inept is the word I'm getting. Inept. So this would be indicating, yes, it is. It's purely government mismanagement. They've made some agreements and contracts that weren't beneficial for the country, and this is this cycle of IMF loans. And the restrictions that they had, they're now reaping what they sowed. There is hope that Sri Lanka is reaching the end of this cycle, but the attempt was to secure domestic security, financial security for its people, but their actions have consequences. They've reaped what they sowed. They will make an offer. They're working behind the scenes to try and undo what was the work that has been done in the past. So that's telling me, yeah, it was just they didn't have a clue what they were doing. That's basically what it's telling me, that they were scratching their heads about how to actually manage the economy of Sri Lanka, those in power. I'll just have a quick look to see whether there is any corruption involved. Oh, gosh. Hidden agendas, secrets to be revealed, and complete enough. No, restriction. Restriction. The truth is really, the country has been severely restricted. The country has been severely restricted. It's okay, so tell me, was there any corruption involved in Sri Lanka's current economic position? Was there any corruption? Was there any corruption? Bribes, money under the table, skimming? Was there any corruption involved in Sri Lanka's current economic position? Was there any corruption? Any corruption in Sri Lanka's economic position? Was there any corruption involved in Sri Lanka's current... It's wanting me to swap decks. So I'm going to my Gilded Tarot Royale. Was there any corruption involved in Sri Lanka's current economic position? King of Pentacles has popped out as the first card, so come on down, which is, you know, sitting on the throne. This is often the trump card of the moneyed, sitting on the throne. In his good days, the King of Pentacles is very much also, though, about mentoring and providing financial security, but this is all about, also very much about indulgence and abundance. So let's see where this goes. The question was, is there any corruption involved? Queen of Wands, Judgment, Queen of Cups, Ten of Swords, the Lovers, Knight of Cups, and the World. Okay, base of the pack, Ace of Pentacles, new beginnings, new financial beginnings for Sri Lanka. So what I'm seeing here is this is the current energy. It's sitting on the throne. I don't know that there's actual corruption. I think it's just this patriarchal belief that they know what's best financially for the country, and it's turned out to be an absolute mess. So then we have these two feminine energies here, Queen of Wands and Queen of Cups. This is an inspired feminine figure, doesn't need to be female, but just a feminine energy, self-confident, mentor, leader type. And then you have this queen, which is, again, she's emotionally stable and balanced. She's very diplomatic. But she also has something in her cup that needs to be revealed. So there is messages going to come forward about something that needs to be revealed that will be an inevitable ending to this patriarchy, this financial patriarchy. It will lead to a complete and utter downfall of this current situation. There will be an offer of a new relationship, a new agreement, a new contract is going to be made. Now, whether this is between the IMF and Sri Lanka, I'm not quite sure, or whether it is within the Sri Lankan political situation, that will bring about a unity of diversification, but also an ending of the current cycle. So I'm not seeing corruption. So rest assured on that. I'm just seeing masculine mismanagement of, because I'm the man, I know better. And I'm just seeing, that's all I'm seeing in regards to that there will be these new energies that come forward that will lead to the end of this current world view of things, the way of looking at it. So I'm going to use my intuitive cards. It's getting to be a fat deck. My intuitive cards, just to have a look at what the future holds for Sri Lanka. So I'm not seeing, okay, they're going to have to get busy and flip what is currently in situ there. I don't know let me know whether there is some figure that embodies this feminine energy that is not currently the president or the PM, a leader that embodies this feminine energy, that is this orator with a calm, diplomatic message. Please let me know. Very interested. But I'm just seeing pure arrogant mismanagement, not corruption itself. Doesn't mean that they don't look after themselves first and foremost, but I'm not seeing it as, deliberately creaming off contracts for the boys type thing. So, oops, dropping my cards everywhere. Dropping them everywhere. Okay, get back to concentrating is what it's telling me. What does the future hold for Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka, beautiful people, lovely people, gorgeous food, just in dire circumstances. What does the future hold for Sri Lanka? Tell me about Sri Lanka going forward. Sri Lanka going forward. Sri Lanka going forward. Sri Lanka going forward. Oh, come on, Meister, bring those cards to the top. I know there's a lot of them you have to go through. Tell me about Sri Lanka going forward. Tell me about Sri Lanka going forward. Right, there we go. For those that are studying tarot or are interested in it, when you shuffle, you can feel when the cards are ready. And if you have sort of like an agreement between yourself and your guide, they will tell you how the cards should feel. Okay, things are going to happen very quick. Yes, things are going to happen. Oh, this is good. This is good. Ish. Right. Interesting that this is bookended by my cards for fast and slow. So what we've got here is things are happening very quickly. Yes, it's all go in a big way. Now, I don't know what it is. Yes, it's all go in a big way. They need to get rid of these contracts and agreements. And it's going to happen in a slow manner. It is going to happen in a slow manner. But yes, this is the direction that needs to be taken. What have we got here? Okay, so we have the lightning strike striking down, or a strike of inspiration in rebalancing. Rebalancing, talk amongst, messages being passed amongst the people. The talking point at the moment is that their cups are empty. They have nothing, or they have very little, which is leading to this sadness and hunger and despair. But be strong. Be strong. Came out upside down. Very rarely comes up upside down. I don't usually read upside down, but obviously when I've dropped them at some stage, it's put these cards upside down. But be strong, because this is usually the card of wealth. Be strong in the face of this lack of wealth. And I have another one that's come out upside down. This is my death. Oops, I need one more on there because that's a end card. Okay, so the current situation, the death of help. The death of help. The death, okay. Sorry, I'm getting this download. It's like, okay, I've got it. The current situation is looking after each other and helping each other. The country is divided. The country is angry at this swamp that has been made out of this rebuilding. They were promised this rebuilding, and it's just turned into a swamp via what is going on in the home front. However, the light bulb moment, there will be inspiration coming via the messaging, the media, the communication. There will, about the opulence for families that will lead to happiness It will happen, one drop at a time, and each person that is involved in this is one drop in the ocean, and will lead to recovery, restoration, repair. Oh, I like these cards. Okay. Out. Not sure what the out is. I'll go through this line and then we might come back to that about what has to be put out. For the country to move up, there needs to be this unity, this coming together, and not so much the protests, not fighting amongst yourselves. There needs to be this coming together of the people that will lead to this magic happening. There will be a few that you'll have to be brave about it. Work your way through this convolution, and it will, in time, lead to wealth of the country. Lead to wealth of the country. Not sure what this out is, though. Tell me, Meister, what needs to be outed? What needs to be outed? What needs to be outed, please, Meister? What needs to be out? Out. What needs to be out for this country, Sri Lanka, to go on this path? It's a very positive last line. So what needs to be out? Outed. Outed is what I'm getting. Outed. What needs to be outed? I'm being drawn back to the patriarch of the money, the king on the throne, and then the two queens. So the king on the throne needs to be outed and replaced by the two queens. The messenger, the strong, confident, inspirational messages, and the calm, diplomatic offers. But tell me what needs to be outed, please. What needs to be outed? What needs to be outed for Sri Lanka to move forward and embrace this final line of positivity? Okay, things need to be flipped. Technology, rule, transformation, noise, stop, intertwining is the key. Okay, not the cards I expected. So this out. What is this out? What needs to be out? There needs to be a flip on this. Now, this is technology, but this is also, okay, there needs to be a flip on how the messaging is getting out there. Protesting in the street is not the answer, is what I'm getting. This is coming back down here. It is about getting the messaging out via technology, but it is also the fact that Sri Lanka needs to engage in technology. The rule is under transformation. There's a lot of noise happening at the moment, and that noise, it's just noise, needs to stop. The people need to get involved. They need to intertwine, and that is the key. That is the key. Here's your ruler. The current ruler is leading the country to poverty, money loss. The money, it's going to these foreign entities. It's going to these foreign entities, these networks of opulence who are quite happy to keep taking it. Quite happy to keep taking it. There is a loss of faith, but we need to bring forward this growth of basic hard work, and then we have the male and female working together for the comfort of the country. So the overall picture what I'm getting is that protesting is not the way. However, I can completely understand how you feel you feel so helpless, but it is not the way. There needs to be a unity behind this inspirational figure, but a unity of the people, regardless of the government. A unity of the people, a coming together of community to change the future direction of Sri Lanka, and part of that is negotiating in regards to these IMF contracts, but what you need is a negotiator, a diplomatic negotiator, not a ignorant bully, a financially ignorant bully. That's the only way I can think of it, a financially ignorant bully is what I've been told. So things are looking up in the future, but there needs to be this internal shift towards away from anger and towards blame and towards solutions. And it is purely caused by economic mismanagement by those in charge, not corruption, but just purely didn't have a clue what they were doing, thought because of who they were that they knew best, and that's proving them wrong. So I hope that gives you a little bit of faith and hope in the future of Sri Lanka. Beautiful part of the world, sending love and light and a bubble of hope to the people of Sri Lanka. I'm feeling your despair, I'm feeling your anger, but please turn that around into community networks and support for each other. Pulling together is what I'm being told, pulling together. But I'm getting these community networks where if people need medication, instead of hoarding, all come together and work out who's got what, who needs what, where, food, necessities of life, sharing. That's okay, thanks, Meister. Sharing, coming together as a community and sharing for the betterment of the future and looking for this fabulous feminine power, orator and communicator and calm diplomat who will slowly sort it all out. Okay, thank you. Sorry I didn't have sort of more instantaneous great news. Love to you all, and I shall catch you next time. Bye-bye.